What's going on, everybody? It's Stas here. Welcome back to another video. So in today's video, we're going to be doing an overall market update, taking a look at the Dow Jones, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ. We're also going to be talking about any trades that I made today, as well as some stocks and ETFs that I'm personally watching and looking to trade here heading into the month of October. One in particular that's looking very good on a technical basis, and I'm sure a lot of you guys out there have been paying attention to this particular stock if you do follow pharmaceutical companies. And stay tuned here in a couple of minutes. We'll go over that one stock in particular, and drop a comment down below. Guess what that stock is. I'm sure you guys can probably guess, and stay tuned again and you'll see if you were right. So if you enjoyed this video, feel free to go down below, hit that like button, consider subscribing if you want to see further content involving the stock market and investing in the stock market and trading in the stock market. This is the channel for you. And let's get right into it, guys. So the SPX, the S&P 500, the 500 largest publicly traded U.S. companies ended up closing the day today down $15. And that's a pretty good close for the S&P considering how red it actually was at the bottom of the day, and we'll take a look at that here in a couple of seconds. But overall, guys, we closed above 2950, which was that level that I was talking about in the Discord group chat today, which is linked down below in the description box, by the way, 100% free of charge. And I was talking about how if we work to close below 2950 today heading into the weekend, that was going to be very negative for the S&P, right? There's a lot of negatives right now. There's a lot of bearish really technicals that I'm seeing, like we talked about in yesterday's video, but this one would have put it into a complete disaster mode in my opinion. And if we just draw out some technicals here, some support and resistance levels, we'll be able to see, if we were to close below 2950 today, next week we could be running down to 2,900 flat. And just because we didn't close below 2,950, that doesn't mean that we're not going to run down there. I still think there's potential, but it's a decent sign for the bulls that we did. That's all I'm trying to say, that we did close above 2,950. But anyway, some upcoming levels of support. Like I said, 2,900. If we draw this one out here, we have about 2,850. That's a very strong level. If we go down a bit more, probably 2,800 flat. And now we're getting very deep into the 2,700s. So overall, if we break 2,950, guys, we could be heading down to 2,900 and then so on, as I've listed here, with these trend lines, right? And if we zoom in a bit onto this 20-day 1-hour chart, you guys can see, like I talked about in yesterday's video, if we were to get rejected by this 50 SMA that we closed right under yesterday, if we were to get rejected and continue to run down, my thesis of this overall head and shoulders pattern, it's going to be pretty much still in play, right? And for those of you guys that don't know what I'm talking about, I talked about this in yesterday's video. Overall here, what I'm seeing on this 4-hour chart, maybe if we zoom out a bit to the 1 year, 1 day, you'll be able to see it because I did draw it before the video. This is what I think the S&P could potentially do here based off of what this trend is showing me. And this trend and this pattern that I'm seeing here is a head and shoulders pattern, right? We have the left shoulder here, we have the head, and now this could be the formation of the right shoulder, especially if we break 2,950 and then continue to move down and break support after support and kind of complete this little trend drawing hypothetical scenario that I do have right here. That could be the full-on formation of the right shoulder. And for those of you guys that don't remember, last year during the October to December period, we sold off very, very aggressively. And not saying that history is going to repeat itself, but it's interesting to see, if something similar happens to last year. We all know these tariffs are kicking in. If we get more tension in the trade war, negative tension, this can definitely rock the markets. If new tariffs get kicked in, guys, we obviously have tariffs coming in here over the next couple of months that are already in place. This can send down the markets in a snap of a finger, right? We've seen it many, many times in the past. And looking at that intraday chart, like I said, guys, we sold off very, very aggressively. And this is actually the time period where I traded the good old ETF, or an ETN rather, that I trade all the time, which I'm sure you guys can guess guess, as well. And you can see we actually got down to that 2950-ish level. We broke below it very briefly, but again, we closed above it, which is a good sign for the bulls out there. Going over to the Dow Jones Industrial Average here, guys, very similar. Big sell-off. We broke a major support, and we ended up closing on a nice little strong note thanks to the bulls out there. Overall, down $70 today, down 0.26%. And if we zoom back out to this 4-hour chart, you can see a very similar pattern happening in the Dow, just like the S&P, and that's the head and shoulders pattern. We have the left shoulder here, the head here, and this could be the formation of the right shoulder if we break the 180 SMA support here and ultimately break that $26,600 level of support as well. If we break that, my thoughts of this head and shoulder, my really technical analysis is still going to be in play if we do this, right? Let's say we start to break out and do something like that and hit all-time highs. Obviously, the head and shoulder, it's going to be extinct at that point. That's not really going to be the head and shoulder pattern because we're breaking to the upside. But if we dump here, guys, that's going to be very, very good for the head and shoulder theory, and we may be going back down to 26,200 if we break the 26.6 support. And if we zoom in a bit, 20-day 1 hour here, guys, I know there's a bunch of jazz going on with these trend lines, but if you look and see, we're still getting rejected by that 50 SMA. We actually broke the 180 SMA support here as well. We hit a lower low today. We're about to see a bearish cross here on the hourly chart, which is pretty much when a smaller simple moving average, in this case the 50 SMA, crosses below a larger moving average, which in this case is the yellow line, which is the 180 SMA. So if that ends up happening, guys, that could trigger even a bigger sell-off, and then we could definitely be dumping to that 26.2 level that we just talked about. So going to the NASDAQ, guys, biggest drop, no surprise, like I talk about on the channel all the time. When we see a red day out there, typically, not always, but typically, the NASDAQ is hit the hardest in terms of a percentage loss here out of the three major indexes, the S&P, the Dow, and the NASDAQ. And that's no different today. We were down 0.9% here, down 70 points. And on the 20-day 1 hour chart, you can see we hit a lower low today. Downtrend is still intact based off of what I'm seeing here in the past 2 weeks of the market. You know, the moving averages, they're acting as resistance levels, both the 50 and the 180 SMA. If we zoom out a bit to the 184-hour chart, you guys can see this one's well on the process of making that right shoulder. Like I mentioned in yesterday's video, this one's way deeper in the process than the S&P compared to the S&P and the Dow Jones. One positive thing that I saw today for the bears out there is that we broke 77, roughly, I bet, I would say 77.30-ish, which is that support level, which was an old resistance where we saw a triple top. So that's good because that means we're on our way to the next support, which in this case is 7,500, and that would be a gap of about 1.6% to the downside. So this is something very possible, guys. This right shoulder completion here, we may sell off right to 7,580, 7,600. At that point, the RSI is going to be very, very oversold. Some bulls might come in. We might see a bit of a breather there, a hold on that support. We may see a bit of a pop, a rejection at that resistance, and then ultimately a dump, and then a break below 76 would really just complete that right shoulder. And at that point, if I draw out some levels, you know, we may be going down to 74.50, which is the next support that I am seeing at this point. So if we go to the 1 day, you guys can see we did get a lot lower from where we are now. We got to about 76.40, and then the bulls took over, but we didn't close above the resistance, right? We're still treating it as a resistance at around 77.20, 77.30. So overall, guys, that's what the markets are looking like right now. I think the markets are going to see a lot more selling, in my personal opinion, right? I was looking at a bunch of put options for SPY. Right now, I'm thinking about maybe placing a risky trade. Not really a risky trade because again, like I've mentioned a bunch on this channel, guys, I don't do options like day trading, like I day trade stocks, ETFs, swing trade stocks and ETFs. I mostly do options when I hedge against my long positions, maybe a couple of times per year. And one thing that I've really set to myself and promised to myself is that I do want to get a bit more involved with options on a more regular basis. So now that I think I have this whole theory about the SPY, SPX going down, I could be completely wrong, guys. Do your own research. Don't take this as being 100% correct. But now that I have this theory in place, a lot of things are happening in the next couple of months that I think could drag down the markets. I may put out a put option play here, and of course, I will let you guys know, which is going to lead us to the second portion of today's video, which is the trading update. And I'm sure a bunch of you guys can probably guess. Again, if you left that comment down below earlier, let's see if you can guess it, but I did, or let's see if you guessed it right. If you guessed TVIX, you are right. TVIX is what I traded today. This is a volatility ETN. Goes up whenever the VIX is going up, which had a very good day today. VIX was up 7%, $1.15, and that is the volatility index, right? When the markets are rocky, typically dumping, volatility is going up. And what goes up when the volatility goes up and the markets are going down? TVIX, right? If we pull up TVIX, you guys can see if you time this absolutely perfect. If you had really a time machine and you can go into the future and see, okay, it peaked at 15.12 today and you got in perfectly at 13.28, you could have made a nice little 12%. Well, not really little. That's a very good profit, right? From the bottom to the top, that's around a 12% gain. But of course, I don't have that time machine, guys, so I did not make 12%. But if we go back to the SPX, like I said, I did enter TVIX, not after this dump, but as we started to try and recover here, and we started to get rejected by that 50 SMA on the SPX, that was telling me, okay, this is not looking to break out here, right? Overall, on the hourly chart, we're getting rejected by moving averages. That's very clear, right? We didn't break out this morning over the 50 SMA. That gave me the notion that the bears are taking over, right? Then I go to the hourly chart, or the day chart rather, and we can see the big dump. And even on the intraday chart, we're struggling to get out of those moving average resistances. We hit that lower high here. We started to dump. And this is when I started to take a position in TVIX. Very, very simple, guys. This moves very quickly. So let's say you make 1-2%, you have $10,000 in the trade. That could be a $200, $100, $200 profit, right? If you have, let's say, $5,000, let's see how good my math is here off the top of my head, guys. If you have $5,000, 1% of $5,000 is $50, right? You make $50 on a quick TVIX trade, and trust me, guys, these TVIX, these volatility ETNs, they move quick. They move very, very quick because they're leveraged, right? This goes up like crazy. You can see here in the snap of a finger, guys, it went from 13.30 up to 14.30. And again, if you had that time machine, you would have made 6%, which is a lot more than that 1% that gives you $50 from 5,000. So let's say you made, you know, the whole 12% from the bottom to the top, you could have made 1,200 off of 10,000. But anyway, I started to get in again right around this 12:30 time period. The markets were very volatile at this point, and I pretty much just scalped it off that 50 SMA like I typically do, and off that EMA. So I got in right on this little dip, right? 14.15, I believe I sold off like 14.38 or something like that, grabbing around a 1.4, 1.5% profit. And guys, I get a lot of questions on the DMs on Discord, you know, should I hold these over the weekend? You know, should I buy these and just hope to get like 20%, 40% by holding it over the weekend? And the truth is, guys, with these, they're very, very volatile, right? Because, you know, we're up 10% one day, the next day we're down 20%, up 10%, up 7% the next day. It's very up and down. And if you get caught in something like this, let's say we got a tweet about the trade war being fantastic on Monday, right? And that sent the markets flying temporarily. TVIX, if you were to hold it from the Friday before, you'd pretty much be bag holding at that point, because this would be down 5-10% a lot of the time, because when the markets go up, the VIX gets crushed most of the time, right? And really, TVIX goes down. So that's why it's very risky. I think if you're up on a Friday, if you're up 2, 3, 4, 5% on a Friday, just take the profits. You know, why? I don't get why people are scared of leaving money on the table. It's okay. Wouldn't you feel better at night that you locked in your profits and you can reevaluate the situation on Monday to potentially get in? And who cares if you left money on the table? People are leaving money on the table every single day. It's just unrealistic to grab all of the money out there, right? Just something to think about, guys, over this weekend. So really, that's it for the trading update, right? And I don't want to keep you guys too much longer. The truth is, this next week, I'm watching the markets in really scrutiny, right? I'm going to be watching the markets closely because I want to see, are we going to start completing that right shoulder on all three major markets, right? I'm not looking at this point to swing trade a lot of stock, except for this one in particular, right, that we're going to get into now. But the truth is, guys, I'm looking to trade most of these volatility market ETFs like TVIX, SPXS, UVXY, SQQQ, all of these ones that we talk about. And the one stock in particular that I think is looking good right now, and if you guessed it, you guys can probably know what it is. It's going to be AbbVie, guys. ABBV. AbbVie. Despite the market selling off, this one's been doing quite well over the past couple of days. You can see it's gone from $64 in the beginning of this month all the way up to $75. Overall, this trend right now, why I'm liking it a lot, is because we're breaking out of the moving average resistances on the 4-hour chart. Very obvious, right? We're making higher lows, higher highs. We're getting a bullish cross based off these moving averages. But the one thing that's a bit alarming here, although everything's looking good on the 4-hour chart, is if we zoom out a bit to, let's say, the 1-year, 1-day chart, we're getting right to that resistance at the 180 SMA, which has been a resistance over the past year and at this point, right, over this past year, which is a bit alarming, right? And it's looking like we might test this upcoming week. So this could be an opportunity either to get a breakout on AbbVie, which would be great for a swing trade, but if you're into put options or potentially shorting a stock, this could be a good opportunity if it does get rejected to go down. So this is a stock that I'm not necessarily looking to specifically swing trade it. I'm looking to either swing trade it or play the put option if it does get rejected. And that's something interesting here because it could really go either way. And if you know how to profit on the upside or the downside, either way, you can make money on this. And I think it's setting up nicely, but we just have to see what it does this upcoming week right at this level under the 180 SMA. So AbbVie, definitely one worth watching. I think there's a lot of opportunity either to short this one or go long on it if it does break that technical level. So I don't want to keep you guys too long. I already know this video is going to be uploaded very, very late. I doubt a lot of people are going to watch it because it is going to be uploaded late, but if you did watch it and you did stay till the end, I really appreciate you so much. You don't even understand. You guys are truly awesome. So if you enjoyed this video, why not go down below, hit that like button. If you stuck this far, just go hit that like button. Let me know down below in the comments what are your thoughts about everything, and leave a subscription, or rather subscribe to the channel. You don't leave a subscription, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you're notified every time that I do make a video, and join our Discord chat and our Facebook group. There's over 1,000 members combined in those two platforms. All of those are linked down below. Follow my personal Instagram at StockSurfFest if you want to see more day-to-day stuff, more my life, stuff like that. Everything, again, is linked down below. So I'll catch you all in the next video. Thanks again for watching. Peace out.